Association, distinguished guests, eminent personalities, members of AIMA, ladies and gentlemen, and of course, the members from the media. Actually, I was thinking early morning I would be having approximately half of the hall full, so I should be able to prevail upon this speedy narrative and move ahead. But keeping in view the weight which is there in this hall, I think I'll have to be more deliberate. And even if shoot some more time, I think the organizers will accept it. So for me, it's a privilege as well as responsibility when it comes to this dais, because here the ideas are nurtured, debated, and distilled to shape the generation next of transformative leaders. So when I look at the previous leaders, it's gurus in all fields. Polity, Mr. Amit Shah, Nitin Gadkari; policies, Amitabh Kant, the Sherpa. Then when it comes to propulsion and pyrotechnics, we had Somnath ji. Then people's life, when we talk about, we have Shri Shri Ravi Shankar, Sadhguru ji, and we also have Padma Vibhushan, Narayan Murthy. What is common in all this? That army is dealing with all these people. We are the second largest and fourth most powerful army of the world. And we have been dealing with all these names which I have given out. And we draw energy and inspiration from all of them. When it comes to the human resources, we bank on Shri Shri Ravi Shankar and Sadhguru ji. When it comes to the technology, we bank on Narayan Murthy ji and Somnath, and so on and so forth. And of course, for the strategic guidance, the polity is always there. What we need to understand also as the army is concerned, a commanding officer is everything within. That is the judiciary, legislative, and executive. And that is how in army it continues with the chief of army staff also. Means any power which you talk about is there with the army. And that is how we move ahead. And when it comes to our extended family, we look at serving their dependents, veterans, their dependents, 7 lakh widows. And when you combine all these things, this comes to approximately 1.3 crore. So army as such, when I look at, it is approximately 1% of the Indian population. That is how I look at. Now moving ahead, let's talk about the leader. And when I was in Somalia, since Dwivedi is a tongue-twisting name, so my colleagues from various countries used to call me Dwight. And if you know Dwight, it is Dwight Eisenhower. He's a very famous general of Second World War who had great difficulty in handling Montgomery, but he's the only one who could handle it. And he said that the leadership is the art of getting someone else to do something you want done because he wants to do it. I'll say it again, the art of getting someone else to do something you want done because he wants to do it. And that is what a huge number, when you look at 12 lakhs of army, you'll find that it's not possible for me to control everyone. So there's a rhythm which always works. But let me put one thing at rest. Eisenhower also became president. I'm not looking at that side at all. So now moving ahead to Op Sindoor, it was amalgam of everything. We had soldier to various commanders. We had scientists on field, off field. We had policy makers to the extent that Union War Book was not invoked. But certain actions which were required to be taken were taken in a preemptive manner. Whether, let's say, the Creek area, the command and control has to come under one head, the Coast Guard has to come under a particular entity. All these actions were taken immediately. Industrialists, certain equipment which was required, which was still in the trial stage, something which was still to be supplied, everything was moved as per the requirement. So it was a whole of nation approach which was there. The government agencies, the railways, civil aviation, there was no Union War Book invoked, but whatever was required to be moved, requests made and items moved. So I met one gentleman who was dealing with the logistics, national logistics. I can just say that wherever we went, everybody was saying, okay, what is to be done, by when it is to be done. That was the approach we had for Op Sindoor. If I can say that all the right boxes were ticked off Union War Book without invoking it. That is how we moved ahead. So, if you look at the conflict today, Op Sindoor, Ukraine warfare, Iran war, or Hamas, of course, it's an exception, it's a different kind of warfare, so we'll not talk about it. It's diffuse, dispersed, and pervasive. That is, it is not confined to the front lines. This time you saw, we did not know that where the missiles are landing, where the drones are there, and we also know what kind of cyber attacks were taking place. So it did not have any front line. It was not having any border, if I can say that. The actors which are there in today's battlefield include the militias. You have Wagner, and now you have a private army, which has also been now in Myanmar also 25% you can have. That also rule has been passed. Then you have the terrorist groups, whether it's LET and others like Hamas. Citizen soldiers, and Ukraine has promulgated this a lot. Merchant of technology, Starlink is one example. There are so many for merchants of technology when it comes to the war. When it comes to the domains, the three domains which are well known to you, sea, maritime, which has got, of course, the air above it, and then the maritime also. As for the air is concerned, it also has three layers. That is the brown or the littoral, then it has the blue air, and then the near space air. Then, of course, you have the land, which I shall talk about later. And then you have cyber, space, cognitive, and info, these domains also there. Now, one thing which we have to understand that how every service looks at a particular USP. As far as the Air Force is concerned, it looks at technology as its USP. As far as Navy is concerned, it looks at platform as its USP. But when it comes to the Army, we look at human resource as its USP. What does it mean? If you take your mind back to the Ukraine warfare, that it was dealing with the all generations of warfare. You will see the photograph of the mule moving, and also there is a robo-mule moving. So that is the kind of a technology variation which was required, because a drone may find it not cost effective to hit at a mule. And if there is one robo-mule, he will have to think twice, because the drone will be much costlier, and should it be used or not. So whenever you do something, there is a counter or answer to that question. So as far as the land warfare is concerned, it deals with the 5 generations of warfare, which is not the case with anyone else. Because others may look at destruction as the only kind of action which they are required to do. But in case of land forces, in case of army, it is the eviction and occupation of the land which is important. When you go back to the Alaska conference which took place between the two premiers or the presidents, they just discussed how much land to exchange hands. So that is what, and in India, since we have the 2.5 front threat, which is well known to you, land will remain the currency of victory. So with that as a premise, let's see that what are the 5 generations and how the changes are coming up now. The first generation is the direct fire. Direct fire means rifle to laser weapon, which we are looking in the future. The R&D is going on, we are looking at the laser weapon, we are looking at autonomous weapons. So this is what as the first generation of the direct fire is concerned. When you look at the indirect fire, we have the precision RT which has been used from both the sides this time. We had long-range rockets, missiles, loiter munition which was used effectively, the UAVs and UCAVs. As you are aware that from the Turkey and China, UCAVs were used from the Pakistan side, and of course we are also getting the Reaper from US. Smart munition, because when you have the smart munition, the percentage of ammunition which is required to be used becomes 1/3. And this is where the research and development is required to be done. In Russia-Ukraine war also we saw that all the RT dumb bombs were basically converted to smart, because only 2 things are surviving in the Ukraine war as of today, is basically the drones and the artillery. Moving ahead, counter-US, that is the counter-UAV, counter-drone, that is something important. When it comes to the maneuver warfare, there's the 3rd generation. We are looking at manned, unmanned teams of the tanks. We have talked about the FRCV, FICV, which we are looking at 2032 onwards, but we're also talking about the light tanks, because light tanks are the one which we'll be using in the northern front or in the high altitude. The decoys played a very important role in Op Sindoor. We are looking at in future also. Advanced materials, because depending on the what kind of ammunition which is there, you need a counter by having a good, robust advanced material. Of course, we are also looking up in a big way is the new helicopters. We need a replacement for Cheetah Chetak. We are looking at in a big way, and I've also visited one of the companies when I went to foreign countries, and we have so many other options. Air defense and airspace management I've talked about. When it comes to the 5th generation, there's the hybrid. We are looking at counter-terrorist operations, and it's again a ratcheting effect. The terrorists have a different technology. We have to have an upgraded technology. You have seen 7th October what happened in Israel 2-3 years back. Then, of course, cognitive warfare, info warfare, that's an ongoing thing. OSINT, we signed with IIT Guwahati and others also, with Delhi also. So, lot of information, we can get it from the OSINT, which military may kind of consider it to be a confidential or a restricted information. When it comes to the new domains, we have the space, satellite, pseudo-satellites, and AI and quantum technology, which I shall cover later. So if that be the case, we need something more for the human resource also. So we are looking at enhancing the physical and mental efficiency of a soldier and also extend life of a soldier who's got injured in the battlefield. We have go, no-go tablets. We have now accelerated high-altitude acclimatization. And of course, we also need to have system to orchestrate this combined armed warfare of the 5 generations along with the other domains and principal actors, and we have to synergize this all together. Now moving on to the technology. If the technology is leapfrogging beyond the speed of Moore's law, Army can't handle it alone. It's just not possible. So we are looking at the Troika, and Troika comprises of academia, industry, and of course the military. All those who have read Unit X, you have realized that wherever the linkage and the synergy of this is written by Mr. Raj, it's about the American system of acquisition. And since Indian origin gentleman has written, that's why I recommend that people should read it. So wherever there is a synergy and the higher guidance is there, you will find that things will move very fast. And there will be an interactive session among the 3 agencies which I have talked about. And that is the future we are looking at. So these 3 proverbial horses must pull together for the chariot to have a fast and focused resultant vector. So let's see what's there in the kitty. Today, we have approximately 26,000 plus crores, which is there from the capital procurement, which is there with me. Approximately 60,000 crores in terms of revenue procurement, which I have. I can see some gentlemen who must be finding it difficult to understand the crores, but I'm sure the neighbors can always explain that what is lakhs and crores means. So, and let me assure you that more money can be made available in case it's a Atmanirbhar approach. Means if it's a India-made equipment, money is no problem at all. But is the market ready to kind of produce that kind of item for the quality which is required in that time frame? Or it stops there or moves ahead from there? That's what we have to see. The projected defense spending every year from 2025 to 35 is approximately 3 lakh crores with at least 10% increase every year. I think this is enough to stimulate and catalyze the growth of a cross-domain Atmanirbhar ecosystem that synchronizes its effort to deliver real and cutting-edge solutions which go beyond short-term, keeping nose just above the water. So this is the kind of initiative we are looking at, that we don't have to be at the bottom just trying to float. No, we have to actually fly. And how we can fly? I think we have to hold each other's wings and move ahead. So our approach has been 2 kinds, Google approach and Apple approach. What it means? That we look for perfection, we keep researching, and when we come to a GSQR, okay, this is what we want. And we are ready to accept initial versions which may be of a lower quality, but finally we need that. But when it comes to the war-winning factor, we have to be very clear, there are no runners-up in war. If there are no runners-up, means a benchmark has to be established, below that is just not accepted. The second is the Apple approach. Apple approach means that here's the technology, do you want to use it? And this is what we are looking at. In the market, there are so many technologies which are easily available. We can just moderate, modulate, change it a little bit, and thereafter can have a military effectiveness. So there also, if it's an imported technology, you cannot modify, you cannot change it. There are IPR issues, there are software issues. But if it is your own, it is easier to change as per the local requirement. So these 2 approaches what we look at. And in this, of course, satellite, drone, counter-UAS, quantum, AI. So whatever research is going on in various fields, we'll always have a dual use. We have always seen that. So what are we looking at? We are looking at, firstly, the collaborative approach is important and the trustworthy approach is important. So this troika we talked about must have a trust within themselves. And therefore, it's a long-term relationship. Now, when you have a long-term relationship, the bridge which is existing today, which was, if I can say that, a taboo till 2014, is the ex-servicemen and the veterans, because they understand the military side and they are now understanding the industry side. So making both sides communicate, the ex-servicemen become a major bridge, and this is what we need to exploit. We are also looking at long-term association. So the strategic partnership is something which we are looking at. We are also looking at long-term visibility. Means it's our job to give you the long-term visibility of whatever our requirement is. And thereafter, should we change the goalposts? That I'll talk about it. And transparency in approach. It is very important to have transparency in approach so that the industry has a trust in the procurement procedures which is there. I talked about the goalposts, but let me tell you, the goalposts will keep changing. If I wanted something to fire at 100 kilometers, tomorrow it has to go to 300 kilometers. Because it is not only me, it is the adversary which is also enhancing its technology. As it is technology, his technology is enhancing, I need to completely make sure that my technological level is ready to beat its technological impact. Here, Atmanirbharta becomes important. This time, now we are ready for accepting spiral development of equipment. Sambhav phone, you must be aware that Sambhav phone is the one which was very critical in Ops Sindoor. Because why? Because this was the phone which we are using in our command and communication. We are not using WhatsApp and others. But in one go only, a kind of a joint operational and intelligence picture was there with all the commanders based on having the same platform. But we are upgrading it to a now higher level. Similarly, software-defined radios. We are upgrading it with every time. Whatever we have today, we are upgrading it. So it's a spiral development of equipment. So military is supposed to do the hand-holding. Second is the spiral creation of the organization. So we're also doing that. Industry says, I'm not sure how much you're going to buy. So this time what we have done, we have created organizations. Equipment, we don't know from where will it come, but we created organization. You would have heard Rudra Brigade, Bhairav Battalion, that is Light Commando Battalion, Shaktiban Regiment of Artillery, EW Brigades, Aviation Brigades. So we have created all this structure and told to the complete industry that, okay, these are the structures which we have. Now these structures need to be filled in with the equipment. Initially, whatever industry can provide, we will use it. As and when it increases the capacity, we will improve it accordingly. For example, let me tell you, lot ammunition. Lot ammunition, presently we are looking at the range of 100 to 150 kilometers. But as the thing move ahead, we are looking at SOM drones or SOM lot ammunition at the range of 750 kilometers. Missiles, we are presently looking at, let's say, a particular range, but finally we are looking at which is much beyond, or the nuclear missile range is what we are having. Rockets, today we are looking at, let's say, 70 kilometers, but finally we are looking at 300 kilometers of this. So sky is the limit as far as aspirations are concerned. But can you provide it? Is it possible? That is what something which you need to look into. Now coming on to the academia. As far as the academia is concerned, as of today we have opened 4 technology cells in IITs, ISC, Bengaluru, etc., which is supposed to leverage the niche capability what we have. For example, ramjet technology we are looking at, advanced material what we are looking at, the water jet cutting technology what we are looking at. So anything which is there in the market is we have a use for it. That is how we go about it. We have also established now Agni Shodh in IIT Madras. And that is any kind of research and development is required, please come there, because as we know that most of the research and development or the industries are in the south. So we are wanting there also our presence to be felt. We have 3 regional technology nodes also. But what we realize that it is very difficult to communicate with the military, whom to contact, whom to speak. So what we did, we made 16 clusters. These are the technology clusters. And we have the Army Design Bureau. Army Design Bureau is the one which is the single point contact for anything you want. But these 16 clusters also have a principal staff officer or lieutenant general. You connect with them, whether it's a research and development, supply of an equipment, trial of an equipment, anything you want, they will get it done. As you are aware, to handhold the industry, we are carrying out the trials and just telling the industry, yes, it passes. Even if we don't want it, we are ready to carry out the trials and give you that military certification so that you can carry out the export also. Moving ahead, as far as the industry is concerned, Compendium of Problem Statements, that is called as CPDS, was released in Feb 2025 by the Raksha Mantriji during our Aero Show. And Compendium of Technology Challenges is also planned in near future. We also have declared a positive indigenous list. These are the items which have to be made in India, and that list is available in the media. And we are looking forward for everyone to come forward and give us ideas. 90% of ammunition has been indigenized. Special winter clothing has been completely indigenized. As you are aware, that northern front is basically, we are looking at super high altitude. And this super high altitude, the temperatures, what we look at 12 to 13,000 doesn't work. And it does not match with Alaska also. Why? Because here the air rarity is there. The wind speeds are very high. Therefore, feels like temperatures are actually very, very low. Industry, research and development. This is something what we are looking at. And to handhold this, we have IDEX programs, technology demonstration programs, ATBs, and of course, research and development funds. So, starting from 27 crores to 30 crores to 300 crores, we have so many funds as far as the research and development is concerned, because small players find it difficult, startups and MSMEs find it difficult to put in money for the research and development. But if they have an idea and if we want it, I can assure you that we should be able to take on. So therefore, I would urge industry to discover, develop and deliver. And when it comes to Atmanirbharta, what we need to sit together and make sure that the intent, synergy, the joint venture with the established overseas players, coming on to the seed money, which we are ready to provide in so many cases, high risk investment, even consortium approach, because for example, let me tell you the light tank. Light tank is something, it may be difficult for one kind of a company only to take on. So the consortiums have been made. And these consortiums give them the capital, kind of a convergence of the technologies of various kind, and the co-production helps us in a big way. So if I have to just summarize that what is the hybrid leader requirements at the strategic level vis-a-vis military and the industry or the management, I'll give few A's. The first one is audacity. That is the think big, visualize, and always make sure whatever you're doing, the second and third order effect is taken into consideration. The second is adaptability. Adaptability, that is the resilience which you require. Because when you go for the battle, after the first round, actually you don't know how the battle is going to change its course. It's something like a river in floods. So that is how we have to keep making sure that the decision at every place is as per your plan, or even if it is not as per your plan. So change has to be as per the progress of the battle. And cross-domain, when we talked about, a cyber domain should be able to impact the maneuver warfare and vice versa. And of course, if I can say that the ratcheting effect of technology need to be seen, because drone and counter drone, you will say that whatever drone you find, the counter drone technology will beat it. Therefore, you need a superior drone. Thereafter, you need a superior counter drone. So that is how the ratcheting effect of technology in adaptability factor we have to look into. The third thing is aura and accountability. It means your reputation counts. Long-term trust is something which is important. Rhythmic execution, it is again important, and unwritten communication at all levels. Means you are visible or not visible, but the ground soldier is able to understand what are you looking for. And that is what something which should happen in the big companies and industry also. Acceptance. Acceptance, a leader today has to be a minimalist. And all those leaders whom you actually look at as a role model, you'll find they generally follow the principle of minimalist. Minimalist does not mean that you should basically not use the facilities and other things. Minimalist means you should be able to take out time and use it for the constructive purpose. That's what is the main aim. And of course, soldier first approach. In our case, once the Jawan eats, then only we go for our food. And that is how we always follow wherever we are. And of course, the Gandhian approach, my life is my message. Your life, you're being closely watched, you're being emulated. So everywhere, the Gandhian message has to be visible. Micromanagement versus macromanagement. When you have these 6 layers, in army, we have 6 layers, starting from chief of army staff to commanding officer. So micromanagement is just out of question. Macromanagement, conceptual guidance, and thereafter every level to be trained, and nudging wherever required, that should be carried out. Ability, of course, that is most important, professional competence, but in the sequence I am giving. So if you see, the ability comes in the 5th sequence. It does not come in the 1st sequence. Professional competence, continuous upgrade, and en masse upgradation of the people you have under command. That is important, and Factfulness is the book which is given out to the Hans Rosling, if I remember correctly, that only not the good ones have to be uplifted. If a large organization like Army, you want everyone to be upgraded. Then, of course, ambidextrous in approach, that is jointness and integration. We have decade of transformation. So We have, I think, fingers everywhere, if I can say that. So in the decade of transformation, we are looking at jointness and integration with Navy, Air Force, and other domains. Modernization technologies and ongoing process. Restructuring, which I have just told you certain issues. Then, of course, human resource management. We have Agniveer, entry of women, and so on and so forth. There are thousands of issues that human resources are concerned. Like our USP is that. And to enhance their efficiency, system, processes, and functions have to be continuously reviewed and make sure that you are able to push the agenda in the correct time. Because for us, the time, space, and resources, the correct management is important. And in the lighter vein, anger management is also important. As the Chanakya diverged his anger in such a manner that we had Chandragupta. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for your address. Ladies and gentlemen, to mark the convention each year, AIMA takes out a special souvenir with interesting articles on management trends. May I request the dignitaries on the dais to please release the souvenir.